Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw, and today we're exploring something that so many of us are living, whether we realize it or not: the balance between our mind, body, and energy. This episode, The Trilogy Bodies Embracing the Whole, is a heart-centered reminder that real wellness asks us to tend to all of ourselves, not just the thoughts, not just the body, not just the energy, but the beautiful, messy, deeply human integration of all three. When we go too far into the mind, we can lose our grounding. When we live only in the body, we might miss the messages. When we focus only on the energy, we risk bypassing the practical. But when we let each of those bodies support each other, honoring boundaries, slowing down, and staying curious, something sacred begins to happen. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Anahita Kalianivala, a licensed psychologist and founder of Alcove Mental Health. She's a bridge between the clinical and the soulful, someone who truly understands what it means to walk the line between evidence-based and energetically wise. But before we dive into the Unclouded Heart segment for spiritual messages of wisdom, let's invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our body, mind, and energy. Take a moment to invite yourself to breathe in deeply, in through your nose and out through your mouth, and in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to give and receive. Resilience isn't the goal. Balance is. We're often praised for our resilience, for our ability to bounce back, carry on, rise from the ashes. Society turns survival into virtue and crowns us for overcoming again and again. But behind that praise is an unspoken agreement. Keep putting yourself through the fire so you can prove your strength in the rebuild. Be the phoenix, burn it down, rise again and again and again. But what if healing isn't about becoming better at surviving? What if it's about creating a life that no longer requires so much recovery? What if resilience isn't the goal, but balance is? We've learned to glorify endurance while quietly ignoring the cost. The body tightens, the mind races, the spirit flickers, and yet we call that strength. We call it determination. We call it productivity. But living in a constant state of rebuilding means living in a constant state of depletion. When your identity is built around always rising from the ashes, something in you starts to believe you must keep burning in order to be worthy of rebirth. Real strength doesn't live in the ashes. It lives in balance. It's the quiet steadiness that comes when you stop trying to prove your worth through your pain. It's the sacred pause where you choose regulation over reaction, gentleness over grit, and rest over relentless striving. Balance isn't the absence of fire. It's learning when to feed it and when to step back from the flame. The world will keep telling you to push harder, do more, rise higher, but your body knows a different truth. The mind may crave momentum, but the body craves rhythm. The energy craves flow. The spirit craves ease. When we honor the trilogy, mind, body, and energy, we stop chasing resilience and start cultivating reflection. We begin to live in a way that sustains rather than drains. This is the deeper work: to stop romanticizing your suffering as strength, to stop calling exhaustion devotion, to stop waiting until burnout to grant yourself rest, to remember that balance is not weakness, it's wisdom. True power doesn't come from how much we can endure. It comes from how well we can align. It's found in the stillness between the inhale and the exhale, in the moments when you choose to listen to what your life is asking of you instead of what the world is demanding. You are not meant to keep rising from the fire. You are meant to learn how to keep your own light brightly alive without being consumed. Because balance isn't about always walking a tightrope. It's about planting your feet in what's real so you don't lose yourself in the sway of others.
Looking to go deeper on the topic of energetic boundaries? Sky Bradshaw's online course and guided journal, The Big Journal of Energetic Boundaries, is a powerful companion for this work. Through chakra-based prompts, daily exercises, and soul-led reflection, you'll learn to move from sacrifice to balance, from burnout to boundaries, from confusion to clarity. This is more than just journaling. It's a transformational process to define how you want to be treated and how you choose to show up for yourself. And here's something extra. The first 10 people to use coupon code BeYourSoul will get the course for only $99. Start today at www.tarotbysky.com and click through the link to our online classroom.
Today, I'm joined by Dr. Anahita Kalianivala, licensed psychologist, founder of Alcove Mental Health, and someone whose clinical insight is deeply anchored in compassion and spiritual curiosity. Her work bridges psychology and presence, structure, and soul. I'm so honored to have her with us today, and welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. What a treasure to hear you use those words, first of all. And everyone should know you have a lot of credit for that, right? I would not be where I am without your teaching. So,
Oh, well, I love you so much. And I am so glad that the ripple is working perfectly in the world to create so many beautiful souls living in those spaces to help other beautiful souls. So that's what I love.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. So today we're going to talk about the concept of recognizing the trilogy bodies, embracing mind, body, and energy in balance in a way that allows us to understand that, if we're too heavy in one or too heavy in the other, then not only do we get overwhelmed, but we also get burnt out. We've all overcommitted. We've all overgiven. We've all over prioritized ourselves. Even, if it's something we love, we've taken ourselves to burnout. And that trilogy, like paying attention to all three and balance in all three, is kind of it's not even just the medicine, it's the preventative. If we can do it before we get to burnout, then it allows us, it's the vitamins we need.
Right. It's the prevention and the medicine, frankly.
Exactly. Yeah. So can you share part of your own journey or something that brought you to this work and allows you to really lean in a way where you're not only teaching, but learning as you're connecting with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you named this idea of learning because I absolutely credit the clients that I've worked with, the people who have like shared their stories with me, let me walk the journey with them to help me like develop my beliefs about it, right? Like it's grounded and
Mhm.
rooted in the experience that people have allowed me to witness. It's also rooted in my own experience. I have definitely experienced seasons of burnout. Admittedly, I didn't know that they were burnout when they were happening, which
Mhm.
I'm coming to learn, I think is pretty common. Oftentimes, I think we catch it when there is some like functional or physical problem.
Mhm.
Society wants us to often push through our emotions. So pushing through numbing out is not odd, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, whatever. But yeah, I would say probably grad school was the trigger for me, if you will.
Mhm.
That's chronic stress buildup. I also definitely had experiences in grad school, emotionally, psychologically, that I was like, oh, this is pulling on some old patterns and stories and
Mhm.
narratives that I wasn't necessarily conscious of. I remember this one moment where this was I'm trying to think about when, like maybe middle of my tenure in grad school in my PhD program, where I was out socially at a conference. I was getting dressed to go out, and I started getting all this unsolicited feedback. And I thought I looked really cute. And I started getting really frustrated. Like, why are these people telling me to change what I'm doing? Odd moment, right? You're just like, okay, whatever, no big deal. But then I kept ruminating on it till number
Mhm.
one. And then I actually like followed up with the person who really gave me the feedback that I was like, why'd you do that? I didn't like that in a loving, caring way. And they also lovingly reflected to me, well, Anahita, you're asking for our opinion all the time. And I had this oh shit moment.
Mhm.
I had this moment where I was like, wow, people are responding to me based on what I'm putting out.
You're right.
I am putting out that I am insecure and unsure. And so people are trying to help me and giving me a lot of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people with boundaries is like the first place you have to shift your boundaries is within yourself because you've set a precedent. If you always say yes when you really mean no, people don't know that they're taking advantage of you. They don't know that you're going beyond your
Right.
capabilities. They're following what you taught them in those spaces. And so that precedent, that recognizing, like, oh, yeah, that is, I am supporting that
Yeah.
unrealistic belief that I'm insecure. Like
Right.
I was teaching them,
Yeah.
and they were responding as, in the precedent that I set. I definitely feel like that's a big, like, aha moment when we can get to those spaces.
I
I
agree.
remember Bird once when she was little, she'd say, like, Gigi, and I'd say, well, what's wrong? And she's like, why does something always have to be wrong?
Right. I can want your attention for nice things too.
I was like, oh,
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we subconsciously do it all the time.
All the time. Yeah. So that's just like one example
Right.
of the thing. I think just to name in terms of like really honoring the wealth of experience I've gathered from the people who have shared with me. I really can't underscore that enough that I don't think that I exist in a vacuum in this work, you know?
Right.
I have traditionally worked in my role as psychologist in medical spaces, in
Mhm.
weight loss clinics, in chronic pain spaces, primarily in chronic pain. And it was through noticing the things that were hanging people up around that physical thing that they presented with, right? Physical
Mhm.
functional problem, come into the office. Like, oh, these are the things that might be cycling unconsciously, the things that are keeping you stuck. Patterns like people pleasing, not setting boundaries, overperforming, feeling like you have to push, not even stories we're conscious of, right? I
Right.
think it's wild to me how universal some of these things are.
Mhm.
And yet, maybe we don't even have language to say, this is what I'm going through.
Right. And it's taught, like we're taught sacrifice is love, like, you
Oh,
know, resilience is valor. We're taught these things like through the,
right. And rest is weakness,
rest
and
is weakness.
slowing down is weakness. And if you're not strong, you're not worthy.
Hmm. And those are all back there behind the scenes. And it happens in the opposite way too, because we look at, like, the good kid who's doing, 110% and burning themselves out and stressing over everything that they're doing, compared to the creative kid who's taking it slow. Like, we look at the person who's more productive.
Yes, productivity as the value too.
It's all these little subtle things that we filter into, and we don't know that we're doing it, and we don't know that we're giving it to other people too, because it's like,
oh, it's all unconscious. Not all, but like so much of it is unconscious.
right. But if we start pulling the little strings of it and start bringing little awarenesses to it, then that works back in our trilogy, because if we can start recognizing, well, yes, my physical body is telling me that it's had enough, but the backup didn't start there. It started either in the emotional or in the energetic, and one clogged the other till it finally shows up in something that we'll listen to.
Absolutely. I think you're also highlighting what I see as like the hallmark of my work. When I say integrative mind body therapy as like what I do, what I mean is we've got to make sure those parts are talking to each other. Right. So I'll name it to my clients as the cognitive, the mental, the physiological, and then the self. Right. That like all of those are actually communicating, that you're not just accomplishing a sense of healing or rest in one domain, but that like the entire body, if you will, can feel the rest.
Absolutely.
Or the alignment, right? Like kind of whatever polarity you resonate with.
Or the balance, or like, it is, balance begets balance. So a lot of times boundaries are misunderstood as limitations. We use them as like deflective or defensive things. I didn't like that, so I better put a boundary up. But to me, and the work that I've done with people, and and I think that you might agree, like when we're working in soul positionings, when we're working in that alignment, the integration, all things connecting, then boundaries are actually inviting people into a safe container, into how to care for you. It is that, like, here is where the space of my needs and your needs coexist. It's not you or me, it's you and me, or, in situations with people, relationships. And, if we can shift that concept of like, what I'm doing is giving you the instruction manual on how to love me by handing you this ask, this request, like this, mentioning what my needs are and listening to what your needs are. So in everyday life, when you're helping people, maybe give us some nuggets on like what's some tools that you would give as far as turning boundaries from from that responsive to action base, and how that works as far as the integration goes to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that when you were describing your definition of boundaries, I thought about what you named before about how important the personal responsibility is, right? That's kind of like how I conceptualize the boundary piece. They're not really there for the other person. They're there for you.
Right.
Right. So I know I don't think it's in contrast to what you're naming about the collaborative space. I think that's really valuable too. And that is usually how I'm approaching it with folks, right? You are feeling the friction and the unhappiness and the dissatisfaction of whatever is going around that you're frankly allowing, right? Allowing doesn't mean you like it or that you asked for it. It just means you haven't yet done anything to say no, to protect your bubble, if you will. So I'll admit that's usually the concept I'm using, because a lot of folks are stuck in what I like to call sneaky codependent patterns.
Right.
You don't know that it's there, and yet it's there. That it's like not okay for you to say what you need. Like, no, it absolutely is. So we have to start there.
Right. In the repair. Like we have to repair before fix, then we heal, then we grow.
Right. Yeah. But one of the nuggets I feel like is often showing up, and I have to coach myself in this personally all the time, is that I think society gives us this impression that love, with all its stories and stigmas and stereotypes, just happens.
Right.
And you don't have to work at it, and you don't have to say anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And people will just know. And that's some bullshit. Right? Because the truth is, we're changing creatures all the time, right? Talk about the trilogy. We have so many influences on our experience in any given moment. How could, like, we don't even know what we want and need all the time. How do we expect somebody else to know from moment to moment?
Yeah.
So that said, what I'm often naming to folks, because the boundary stuff usually comes up in relationship, right? In any type of like person to person social setting. So if we're operating on this assumption that we can't say what we need, that we're not allowed to name what's true, or that they should already know, then frankly, we're setting everybody up for failure.
Right.
And this idea that you shouldn't set expectations, like expectations will lead to disappointment. Yeah, if you don't say them, unstated expectations lead to disappointment.
Yeah.
Right?
My philosophy is truth brings choice. So if my truth and your truth are different, if we have a different perception, then both of us, if those truths are stated, get to make a choice in how we interact with that truth. And what people are really usually afraid of is that choice.
Agency. Yeah. I was just about to say, they're scared of the agency.
That person might not meet my needs. They might not want to meet my needs. But if they're already not meeting your needs, what risk are you taking?
Bingo.
Yeah. And that's the big part of it.
Yeah. I totally agree that it absolutely feels risky that our needs might not get met, especially if we are kind of in a position. I'll speak for myself as a perfectionist, feeling like I'm supposed to do all the things for me. I will admit perfectionism that I was unconscious of definitely led to hyper independence that I was also unconscious of, but then realized was like whenever I would try to connect was like absolutely slapping other people in the face. Like I was communicating, you can't connect with me because I don't need anything, which is just to say it also doesn't foster the very thing we want.
Right. Which is connection. It's true. When someone realizes they've been living from that part of themselves, and to me, that's kind of, even though we're talking like the physical is where where the symptoms are showing, but a lot of times, to me, that people pleasing, perfection, those sorts of things is that mental aspect. It's the mental aspect of it. So when they kind of get that, and they could be living, other people might be living from their only physical. Some people are actually living from their only spiritual, and they're not grounded in anything.
Right.
But,
not balanced.
Right. So when you feel someone, you've identified, you've been living in this mental, like in this mental space, and forcing your physical and forcing your energetic into the boxes that the mental has created. What do you think, like, if you had to give advice, like what's one thing that, and not that there's only one thing, there's going to be
yeah, it's okay.
Like, they're starting to get that awareness. Oh, I have this tendency. I'm living way in my mental space. Like, what do you think the first step or the, important tip for them would be as far as like helping them shift to integration?
Slightly indirect answer, go gently. Most folks I work with, conscious or not, are strivers. They want to do a good job. And maybe that's partly what I pull for. That's okay. But also, I think the problems they present with, like chronic pain, are a product of that striving, of letting one muscle be really flexed bodybuilder level and letting the other ones atrophy. That's often how I describe it too, right? Kind of in those domains.
Right.
So when I say go gentle, one piece is don't judge the fact that you have this strong muscle. It came from somewhere. There was a reason that you needed it. And it worked, or you wouldn't have kept doing it.
Right.
So like, this is not about shaming the fact that you got where you got. But are there ways for us to like gently acknowledge, oh, there it goes again, right? If we're thinking about the mental muscle, there goes my mind again. What can I do to like soften that, bring myself into my body? Right now, I'm saying that really generically. There are a lot of different ways to get there.
Yeah.
Breath is always my favorite. But a lot of the work I do is really like asking people to slow down. And my phrase will be like shoulders down, right? Stop thinking and shoulders down. What are you noticing? And honestly, I get so much information from where people go at first. So I
Mm-hmm.
used to be the person who was like, okay, pay attention to your breath. And now I'm like, that's too prescriptive. Like I want to see where your attention goes. What part of the body is talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of start there.
Yeah. There's a Haitian saying that says, little by little, the bird builds its nest. And it's one
Mhm.
of my favorite ones because, we know in the world that we live in, everybody wants like that one answer, like I
A
just asked
hack.
for, like,
Yep. Give me the hack.
yeah, give me the hack. What's the one thing? How do we get to that one? Like what I want to walk out of a session and be totally healed and not have my problem anymore. And, this however many years I've been alive of building to this point, I want you to erase, in 60 minutes. And
I'll actually turn that around on people for the record. You didn't get here overnight. We're not undoing it overnight.
exactly. Like it's physically, emotionally, and energetically impossible.
Impossible.
If you do that, then you're going to have an existential crisis. Let's just say it. So,
Which could also draw people into therapy.
but that little by little part gives us not only agency, like you were saying, but it gives also the parts that allow us to grow and shift and change a voice during the process. Because things I'm working on right now, if I would have been working on them 10 years ago, I would have been using a totally different tool.
Mm,
I would have been taking a much longer. Sometimes I tell people like, well, you can start at the end right now, but you're probably going to take just as long to get there because by the time you have to keep circling back and circling back and circling back, it's going to be the same amount of time to get this
right.
into alignment. And so I think that, reminding ourselves, reminding others, like, when we go little by little, then our evolution is built into the tools and the
Right.
growth and the progress.
And it's sustainable. Hacks don't last.
Exactly.
Yeah. A hack is a hack for a given moment, for a specific container. It's not a lifestyle change.
Exactly.
People don't want to
Exactly.
hear that. We don't want to change our lifestyle, but then nothing changes. Right.
Right. Without change, there is no change. That's what I say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
was something you said I want to respond to, the agency piece that you named.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I notice in work, in life, in friendships is how attached people get to the goals that they set, big or small. And to me, one of the most helpful things I can do for my clients is to encourage them to let go when it's not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As Ross would say on Friends, pivot, right? Pivot, pivot, pivot. And I think, oh man, there's so much there about the reasons people might say I'm not allowed or I can't or I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't. I've committed, so I have to keep going.
Right. But just because you have doesn't mean you have to. And that's part of that evolution. It's saying like, well, in the beginning, this plan might have really worked.
For the me in that moment.
The me in that moment, that was the right plan. But now
Mhm.
I've evolved, I've shifted, I've changed. Like
Mhm.
my plan has to change with me. My goal, like the intention might stay the same. It's probably going to refine and calibrate and
Mhm.
expand as you learn new things and see new ways about yourself. But it's certainly like, the shoulds. And we talk about the shoulds
Oh
on this show
boy.
all the time.
Yep. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Like we're not obligated to give in all the spaces, in all the ways, and all the dimensions. I want to add here a tool that's been super helpful in my own life around releasing some of this judgment, which was learning about my human design.
Mm.
I think I started learning about it in 2021 or so. So it's still relatively new in my life, but was super pivotal, game changing for me. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because it's all around these themes we're naming, right? This idea of you have your own inherent design. It is not like anybody else's. You are meant to live it, regardless of what everybody else is doing. And sometimes we have vulnerabilities that will other people's shoulds or standards will get stuck on us. In the language, they call that conditioning. And the idea of coming back to yourself is the deconditioning, right? How do I let go, release those things, come back to me? So one aspect of my conditioning was this piece, like I've committed, I have to do it. Or I'm like really letting people down if I cancel or say no. And what I learned about myself through my human design is that's actually super common for types like me. I'm a manifesting generator. It means I have a lot of interests. I pivot a lot. And sometimes to the outside world, that might look flaky. Oh, she said yes, and then she didn't show up. She didn't commit. Right? Now, am I a flaky person? Sky, am I a flaky person?
I don't think you're a flaky person.
Right. I don't think I'm a flaky person either. But I'm just willing to say, oh, that doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
How else can I show up? Or what else can I do? Or what else is right in this moment? So that really, I think by the time I learned about it, I wasn't carrying it like a wound, but it really sort of, it boosted my superpower. It let me say, oh, this is a really good thing about me. Not this is just acceptable. This is awesome.
Right. Migraines taught me to be able to say no to people in that way, because like you just don't have a choice for a little while. And then I realized, like, if I actually took those choices before I was at the point where my head was not well, then I can alter the fact of going in all the way into the stress piece of having the migraine. So I could be forced to say, no, I can't do that thing because I have a migraine. Or I can say, wait a minute, let me check in with myself and see, does my body need rest instead of coffee? Does it need this instead of that? And that kind of pivot, taking it from, as I was saying, a lot of people do the end where it hurts and putting it in the beginning and going like, wait, right now I can make this choice for myself. And then just also recognizing and realizing, like, anybody who loves you, anybody who really cares for your well-being or really has a healthy, respectful connection with you, if you say, I know I said I was going to do this, but what I really need is some rest. If you get pushback there,
that's information.
Right. They should just be, not should, that's a should done on them, but like, you told me, if you were like, oh, I can't do this right now, I wouldn't be like, oh, you said you were going to do it. I would be like, oh, okay, well, reschedule or cancel. Tell me what we were, and just be loving in those moments. And so our head tells us we're disappointing someone.
And trusting.
Right. And trusting.
Like trusting that this relationship can handle the disappointment. Trusting that I'm making the right choice for me versus making a different choice than you wish I did.
Right.
Right. Like I think that's one of the tricky bits. That's one of the vulnerable bits that is really hard to lean into when folks are doing this work, when they're noticing, oh, I'm a little out of balance here. How do I reconcile? Oh, I got to get vulnerable.
It's true.
Yeah. I got to trust that this container can hold this, that I can hold myself if this implodes. I think that's also scary, right?
Yeah. And it is all just information. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I ask every guest 3 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
I know this is a buzzword, but I think it's so valuable for me, like to live in my authentic truth. And so for me, that means, to the best of my ability, like saying and knowing and doing what's true for me, regardless of my fear of how it's going to disappoint someone. That's my usual wound. I also think it means chasing your joy. And I use joy because that's what resonates for me, right? But like whatever that emotional signature is for a person, the thing that lights you up, that you let yourself run after it. And again, running at your own pace, right? I don't have a definition of what run means. And then I also think like there's this unapologetic nature to living embodied. And I think sometimes that gets a bad rap, right? Especially in the aspects of our culture that I think breed codependency. that like you can't be your individual self. You are being selfish if you do. But the truth is, when we do all those things, that's when we're in the like best, highest, strongest position to give, to share, to light up the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's one self care practice you do every day to help fuel your energy?
Lately, it pivots a lot, but lately, it has been breathing when I notice tension in my body. I'm in this wonderfully busy and active season of life, and I'm letting my generator energy carry me through. And also, I'm like, oh, by like 2 o'clock every afternoon, my shoulders are bricks. So, how can I slow that down? 4-7-8 breath is one of my favorite things to do. 4 in through the nose, hold at the top for 7, exhale through the mouth with pursed lips for 8. It's really nice nervous system reset.
I love that one too. How does it feel to you when you're centered and balanced?
I worry so much less about what other people think.
Mm.
That's my number one tell. I think I
that.
also have easier access to joy. And there's also this physical warmth. There's just like this channel of warm fuzzies, unconditional love, if you will, right? Just that like that trust, that sense of trust that like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Good or bad, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
And the next moment gets to be the next moment. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was so great catching up with you. Do you want to shout out any offerings or make sure to give everybody your website so they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website and my Instagram are the same thing. It's Alcove MH. So ALCOVEMH, like mentalhealth.com. And right on topic with this, I recently wrote a love letter to perfectionists, including myself. So that is also something that folks can get access to. I know you're going to share some links, so I'll be sure to make sure they have that one.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, dear listeners, for being here, for choosing presence, for making space to reflect, and for walking this path of becoming with such open hearts. A deep thank you to Dr. Anahita for sharing your grounded wisdom and gentle clarity with us today. Your insights remind us that healing doesn't always come from doing more, but from honoring all parts of ourselves with compassion and care. Dear listener, as you move through your day, may you listen to what your mind needs, care for what your body carries, and tend to the truth your energy holds. Because when we choose balance over burnout, we allow our whole self to be seen, heard, and honored. We don't just survive, we begin to thrive.
Did you know Sky Bradshaw has a full online classroom of offerings to support your healing, growth, and energetic alignment? From journaling journeys to energy education, her courses are rooted in real tools for real people walking a soul-led path. One of her most loved offerings, the Big Journal of Energetic Boundaries, is available now, and the first 10 people who use the code BeYourSoul will get it for just $99. Whether you're new to energy work or looking to deepen your practice, you'll find something here that meets you where you are and helps you grow from there. Explore the full library of courses at www.beyoursoul.org.
This is a practice I've found helpful in my work, and maybe you will too. It's called From Sacrifice to Soul-Aligned Choice. Before we can get strong soul-aligned boundaries, we first have to understand the energy behind the choices we're already making. Many of us have been conditioned to give freely, to overextend, to say yes, even when our body or spirit is saying no. But not all giving is the same. Some comes from our abundant energy overflow, and some comes at a cost. This exercise invites you to slow down and take inventory of where your energy is going, and more importantly, how it's being exchanged. The difference between sacrifice and compromise is subtle, but powerful. Learning to feel that difference can shift your relationships, your boundaries, and your overall sense of balance. Let's begin by understanding the energetic nature of these two ways of giving. Sacrifice is a sacred energy, but it's also a finite one. True sacrifice means giving without expecting anything in return. It's purposeful, situational, and meant to be used sparingly. When we sacrifice, we often draw from our own reserves, mentally overriding our needs, physically pushing past our limits, or energetically giving from a place we can't easily refill. While there are moments when sacrifice is necessary or noble, it becomes harmful when it becomes a lifestyle. Sacrifice, when used repeatedly, bypasses the natural law of circulation. In giving, I receive. In receiving, I give. Without that mutual flow, sacrifice becomes depletion. And if we're always the one pouring and never the one being poured into, we begin to burn out mentally, physically, and energetically. Compromise, on the other hand, lives within the realm of balance. It acknowledges that in any relationship or responsibility, there is a healthy range. The least we're willing to offer and stay within our integrity, and the most we can give without self-abandonment. Within that range, compromise doesn't deplete us, it expands us. It creates a third energy, the space where needs meet in mutual respect. This is the sacred 1+1=3 principle, where your truth and my truth meet to create something new, something whole, something energetically self-sustainable. Mentally, compromise honors clarity. Physically, it respects capacity. Energetically, it upholds alignment. When giving flows from that place, it feels like contribution, not obligation. And that's when connecting becomes sustainable. So it's time to break out your journal, pour a cup of tea if you like, and gift yourself a moment of honesty and care. This practice is divided into 3 parts: awareness, acceptance, and action. Each stage will invite you to listen inward, reflect gently, and move towards balance. Let's begin by naming the pattern or habit that keeps you in the cycle of giving beyond your limits. When sacrifice becomes automatic, we say yes too quickly, overfunction without pause, and push past our capacity because it feels like our only choice. But naming the pattern is the first step to healing it. Take a breath, tune into yourself, and then reflect on the following. What parts of your day or relationships leave you feeling drained, even when your mind tells you that you should feel grateful or energized? Sometimes our mind labels something as good, but the body or energy tells us another story. Let that story speak. Journal about a moment this past week when that disconnect may have shown up. What did your body do? What did your energy feel like afterwards? How did it make you feel? Expanding on that, tune into and journal about a connection or experience where you feel like you're constantly managing, fixing, or holding things together without much return or recognition. It may relate to what you just journaled, or it may be something separate. Look for where you feel responsible for outcomes that aren't fully yours. Think of a time recently when you carried that weight. Were you aware of it in the moment? What would it feel like to loosen your grip, even just a little? Now let's shift into acceptance. the space where we offer compassion to the version of ourselves that created these patterns in the first place. Many of our habits were born from survival. Overgiving may once have earned us love, safety, or praise. That version of you was doing their best. Take a moment to reflect. What did this pattern of sacrifice once protect me from or provide for me? What was I hoping to feel or prove by overgiving in this way? How can I see that although this choice may have been valuable in my past, that it no longer serves this present moment? Can I thank this part of me for helping me survive at one point and lovingly let it go back to where it came from? Now honor that part of you. It used the only tools it had to get you through. And for that, it deserves your gratitude, not your shame. But you're no longer just surviving. You have new tools now, ones built on clarity, boundaries, and balance. As the Haitian saying goes, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You don't have to keep pounding away. You've built a whole toolkit. It's time to use it. So with love and reverence, say, thank you for getting me here. I see you. I release you. I trust myself to choose differently now. Sacrifice is not the only way to show love, and I choose balance in giving and receiving. With awareness and acceptance in place, we now step into aligned action. A healthy boundary lives between the most you would like to happen and the least you're willing to accept. This range keeps you connected to your truth while still holding space for connection with others. The most reflects your ideal, the treatment, support, or outcome you could hope for. The least is your baseline, the point at which your peace, energy, or dignity begin to erode. This range doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be clear. Now ask yourself, what is one area, one choice, or one situation in my life where I can make a clear ask or set a clear boundary that brings this dynamic into my healthy range? Maybe it's with a friend who often asks too much. Maybe it's a work commitment that's been slowly taking more than it gives. Reflect on how you've responded in the past. Have you over-explained, apologized, treated your needs like they were negotiable? Then ask, what would it sound like to simply say no, or state the safe container in which my needs will also be met with clarity and kindness without shrinking or justifying? What boundary can I begin practicing this week that honors both the most I hope for and the least I'm willing to accept, with calm confidence and without apology? Let this be a practice in self-trust. Your boundaries are not a burden. They are invitations for healthier connections. You've just walked through a powerful process, one that asked you to meet your habits with honesty, your past self with compassion, and your present self with choice. That is sacred work. When you define your healthy range, you create space for balance to live and prosper. You begin to show others and yourself what love looks like when it's rooted in respect. You give your soul permission to thrive, not just survive. That one choice, made again and again, becomes the foundation for everything you're building. Because healing isn't just awareness, it's acceptance and actions made in alignment with your soul self. And when we honor that energy shift again and again, Through persistent and consistent choices, we create great growth, healthy connections, and an unlimited source of ever replenishing energy. You've done the brave work of listening inward. Now go live in the direction of your wholeness. May you be well. May you feel whole. May you be blessed. And may you always be your soul.
If something in today's episode spoke to your soul, you don't have to stop here. Visit beyoursoul.org, where you'll find a wide circle of support. Love Church, our free Sunday gathering, streaming live every second and fourth Sunday. The Be Your Soul classroom, full of self-paced courses, guided journals, and healing tools. Our YouTube channel, home to meditations, interviews, and spirit-led support you can revisit anytime. And of course, all podcast episodes, ready when you need a message, reminder, or a little reconnection. Everything we create is rooted in one mission. When the one is strengthened, the sum is strengthened.